In the African American community, we have this saying, what happens in this house stays in this house. And this has allowed for molestation to become a taboo in our community. And as many children grow up, they hear that they need to be seen and not heard. That limits our ability to utilize our voices. Did you have the courage to utilize your voice at a young age to stop any of the molestation from happening?
At the time, no. So I was molested from the ages of 3 to 5. At the time, I didn't have a voice. I had never been, talked to about inappropriate touches or anything like that. I had never had that conversation. I had never heard about it before. I didn't come out to my parents about what had happened to me until I was 19. And that was just to one parent. And then I came out to the other parent at 21. But yet still never had any conversations, never talked about with my friends, never shared about it. It wasn't until the last couple of years, like going to therapy, I started to realize that it's not something that I should be ashamed of. It's not something that I should be embarrassed about. It's just a part of my story, and it's okay to talk about it.
As you were talking, it gave me chills because I don't think many people truly understand that they're not by themselves, and how we are taught so much to not share that part because, you don't want to get the perpetrator in trouble, or you don't want to tell about your older cousin or whoever it was, and we just keep living this life because we feel like we're the only ones that had that pain. So I'm definitely grateful that you were able to find your voice. Where did that voice come from?
I think it came from just being an advocate, because I would always want to take up for other people, even at a young age, even at the time where I was being molested. I was always taking up for somebody else, whether even being in the elementary school, middle school, high school. I always found myself advocating for somebody else. And my family's from the Caribbean, so my situation changed as I moved to America. I didn't really learn what molestation was truly, like that it had a name, until I came to America, but it was still framed in a way of stranger danger.
Yeah.
Not that the stranger could be in your house. But I just learned to find my voice just in accepting myself and educating myself and talking to people and realizing that I was not the only one. And recently, within the last 2 weeks, I spoke to an older cousin, and she came back and said, well, who did something to you? And I told her the name of the person, and she said, oh my God, he did something to me too. And he did something to such and such. So this whole time I was carrying this thing like this person had chose and targeted me, or God had allowed this person to do something specifically to me. Now, I didn't feel good to know that it happened to her, but it was good to know that I wasn't by myself. That might sound kind of weird, but it makes you realize that it wasn't just you. You weren't by yourself.
Well, here's the beauty. Today, because you're talking about it, somebody else is going to talk about it so that their daughter and their son is not going to have to experience that.
Right.
You mentioned that an abusive relationship resulted in a great loss. Please share more about those losses and how you have been restored since the end of that relationship.
Having a background of being molested, it led me to unhealthy and unsafe relationships, right? And being in this one particular relationship, as a result of the relationship and the result of some things that the person did not connected to me, he ended up being incarcerated. But because we were in a relationship, I lost my job. As a result of not having a job, I lost my housing. As a result of not having a job, I lost my car. And I just remember being completely self-sufficient. I remember having to go into the shelter with my kids. I had 2 children. And I was so embarrassed and ashamed that I chose to stay in the shelter than to call my mother to let her know where I was. So I just cut all communication off. I lost some of my pride. I lost my sense of self-esteem. I lost my sense of self. I lost my sense of independence. I lost my sense of self-worth because I felt like at the time, the job and the money and the car and the things that I had, it filled something in me that I was missing. And I had to lose all those things. But after losing those things, it made me realize those things did not really necessarily make me a good person anyway. It didn't make me a better person. They were just things.
Yeah.
But going through the loss, it was actually necessary. At the time, I didn't understand, I couldn't think of what was good about being homeless, what was good about being jobless, what was good about not having a car. But in being homeless, it made me appreciate having a home, having a bed, having somewhere to stay. Being jobless, it made me be able to be at home with my kids, go to the school, see what's going on with my daughter, sit with her and eat lunch. So it gave me the time, which is priceless.
Yeah.
So even though I had a great loss, it added more to me in the long run.
Well, even with all your losses, God still worked it out for your good. And I'm grateful to know you as the superwoman that you are today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.